going now. So just background. I'm sure everyone knows who Houston Engineering is, but just wanted to kind of highlight first and foremost. We do more than just the DrainageDB software. We also have a large engineering group that specializes in kind of regulatory issues with DNR public waters relating to 103E ditches. We do a lot of reestablishment of records work. We do multi-purpose drainage work, water quality studies, engineering around the repairs and improvements, feasibility studies, and Chris serves as an expert witness also as at times for various clients. So just wanted to kind of remind everyone that we're here to help however it makes sense, or if you need our help, always reach out to Chris Otterness or Joe Lewis, kind of our drainage engineer leads, or Garrett Munson too. So first of all, I kind of just want to go over, why we needed to update DrainageDB. I think that's important to understand. And, basically we started writing the first lines of code probably 8 or 9 years ago. With web technologies, it's constantly evolving. So those libraries that we picked to program DrainageDB with, were all new and the latest and greatest, 9 years ago, but fast forward to today and they're all out of date. Some aren't even very well supported anymore. Programmers cringe every time they got to go into the code because there's not much support for it anymore. So that was the biggest motivating factor, is we knew we had to rewrite the whole thing and just modernize all the programming libraries to bring it up to date. Another thing is, we know the mobile app wasn't working very well. We were hearing, others starting to kind of want to use some of Esri's mobile apps like Collector and Survey 123. So we definitely wanted to modernize that mobile app workflow and fieldwork component of DrainageDB. And then the other thing is, we didn't want to keep investing enhancements in the old code. So really we wanted to, any new enhancements, we wanted to start building on the new libraries and code to make sure we were getting most out of the investment, because anything we put in the old code, we knew we would have to rewrite anyway. So got to thank Paul Hedlund and Mitch Lane. They worked pretty hard over the last 9 months to do a complete rewrite of the software and also bring in some enhancements and some integrations. So the other kind of exciting thing is we were able to absorb all that work through your annual subscriptions. So, there's no need to pay extra for the new version or any upgrade fees or anything like that. So that's a great kind of testament to the whole concept of, we get a bunch of, counties and watershed districts on board with using the same software, and, everyone pays their annual maintenance and it goes towards enhancements and then even a rewrite like this. So I kind of put this presentation together just to kind of talk about, I'll call it the top 10 updates in DrainageDB. Like I said, I kind of hinted this already. The biggest thing was just an entire rewrite of the programming code. And also while we did that, we decided to move it to Amazon Web Services. We were able to get the cost of hosting down a little bit and take advantage of some of their services that we didn't have before. So like I said, all these costs were absorbed into the maintenance subscriptions, and then our hope is that this version should last another 7 to 10 years before we have to consider another rewrite. And the good thing about that is it should be fairly stable and static now. The other thing is, while we were rewriting it, obviously we were able to modernize the whole user interface. So it looks different now, although we tried to keep all the features in the same places they were before. And you'll see that it looks different, but everything should be similar to what you're used to using, and you should be able to, easily find all the things that you used before. I can say that we didn't remove any features. We only added some new inputs and things to DrainageDB. Another big thing that I'm really excited to see is we've now integrated with ArcGIS Online. So previously, each of you had to send us your parcel layer and your ditch layer and any GIS reference layers you wanted in the map viewer in DrainageDB. You had to send them to us. We had to load them in the database. In this rewrite, we have integrated it so now we can read in and consume what's called an ArcGIS Online web map. So what this does is it puts all the reference layers completely in your control. You can have any reference layers you want on the map viewer. You can update them anytime you want. You can control the labeling and symbology and pop-ups. All that you can control right from your ArcGIS Online account in the web map. I will note that it does require an ArcGIS Online subscription. When we decided to go this route, we kind of didn't think that was going to be a barrier. I think a majority of people using DrainageDB already have ArcGIS Online. If they don't, it's a very minimal cost to subscribe to it, to use it for this purpose. So I'm just going to jump over to actually showing you what this looks like. So, here's the new version of DrainageDB. We're titling it version 3.0. You'll notice it looks very similar to the current version. You have your interactive map on the right side with your map layers. On the left-hand side is kind of the navigation where you can quickly get to different drainage systems or repairs or violations or whatever you're looking for. But when I talk about kind of the integration with ArcGIS Online, anything we have in this reference layer section, this is what can be consumed from a web map. So let's say, zoom in a little bit here. Let's say I don't like the color orange for my open ditches. What I can do is I could come over to ArcGIS Online, and we'll help you set all this up. It's pretty straightforward. We actually did a deployment yesterday. So we will create a group inside your ArcGIS Online account called DrainageDB. And when I go into that group, I'm going to see various items that will help you publish. But one of the things that I'm going to show here is this web map. So this is the web map that I am using right now to consume in my ArcGIS or my DrainageDB account. And I'm going to open that up. So with this web map, your GIS staff, or maybe even some of you should be very familiar with this, but this is the map that I am using in my DrainageDB right now. So, let's say I didn't like the layer I call drainage area. Maybe I like the name ditch sheds a little bit better. So I'm gonna rename that layer to ditch sheds. I'm also gonna, I don't like that orange color of my open ditches, so I'm gonna change the symbology, and I'm just gonna pick a kind of a dark purple here for my open ditch lines. Gonna click OK. And then also, let's say I wanted to add another attribute to the pop-ups for this drainage centerline layer. I can configure the pop-up and go to configure layers or configure attributes. Then I can actually choose to select, maybe I want to add in % grade on each segment. I have that information in my layer. And I'm gonna keep that okay and click OK. Now I'm gonna save out this web map. And now when I come back into DrainageDB, I'm simply just gonna log out and log back in. And it's going to refresh everything and reread that web map. And now you can see it's kind of hard to pick the bad color there, but now my open ditches were orange before. Now they're purple. I also changed that layer name to ditch sheds here. Before this was called drainage area. And also now if I identify a segment here, get to the center line. I now have % grade as an attribute in my pop-up. So all this is being read directly from the web map and just consumed in DrainageDB. So it, like I said, it gives you full control of deciding what layers you want in the map, what pop-ups you want, if you want labeling on them, all the colors, things like that. Because I know we've had requests before, various counties and watershed districts have various attributes. Some might have a bottom width or grades on their segments, some might not, so you might not want to show that information. The other kind of cool thing is now when you identify a feature, it'll highlight the segment or feature you're identifying. So I only have pop-ups configured for the ditch center lines and also for the drainage or ditch sheds here. but you could configure in any other layers you want. Maybe you have a structures layer, maybe you have a damages layer, easements layer, right-of-way layers, survey information, all that you could add to your web map and it would automatically show up in the map viewer now. And you can control symbology. So we're pretty excited to kind of open that up. We think that's going to be a huge tool for you at the county to tailor the interactive map in DrainageDB the way you want it. And like I said, we'll help you get all this set up the first time and kind of show you around on where you can edit that information. The DrainageDB layers are still going to be controlled and overlaid on top of the map by what's in DrainageDB. And just like before, they look a little different. They're circles now, but I can still click on one of these and go to that repair and see the attributes I want for those repairs. So that's a little highlight of the integration with ArcGIS Online, kind of the first integration point we did with it.
Brian, if I could interrupt for just a minute, I note that John Roshline had indicated a note that some of the folks may need a little more training to use ArcGIS Online. Can you comment on that a little bit? You showed some of the added functionality, but it seems like there's most of that functionality should be very similar to what we had before in DrainageDB.
Yes, yeah, and we will walk you through how to configure a web map and all the settings in there. There's great documentation from Esri and tutorials on this from Esri, but we'll definitely help you get started. And I have at the end, I'm planning to do kind of like mini trainings on very specific subject areas, and configuring a web map might be one of those things. But definitely we can help you out. And as before, anytime you have questions on stuff like this, that's what our support's for. Always reach back out to us and we'll help advise you on how to use things. Just moving on here to highlight some of the other enhancements that we've done. So one of the ideas was kind of to add in some information to track about joint or judicial systems. So what we've done is we've added a new kind of I'll call it a pane, but I'll show this inside DrainageDB underneath the description tab, where if the legal type equals joint or judicial, then an additional pane will appear that lets you put in information about like the percentage of share between each of the counties for a joint system. It also lets you put in a few other things, and we could continue to add to this if we wanted to in the future. With that, we also reorganized the tabs within the system view because we were running out of space. So we actually collapsed all the repairs, violations, conditions, and BMPs into one tab, and I'll show that as well. We also added a couple new fields to the notes section underneath the description tab. And then probably the largest enhancement we made was we added a whole new tab called Financial. And it added in the ability to track a lot more financial information on each system. That was kind of an idea that came out of Brown County, and they helped us with some of the initial thoughts on how that should look. I'll call that the starting point of that, and I definitely envision that could evolve if we get a bunch of counties starting to use DrainageDB for more of the financial tracking on drainage systems. But those things we added were things like an account register, keeping track of the transfer of funds between systems or between the general revenue fund to a system, and then some new reports to kind of quickly get this information out. So I'm going to jump back over to DrainageDB here and just show you kind of where this is at. So, to see this new information, I would go into a specific drainage system, and I'm going to pick a joint system here. Pick JD4. So I know I have a joint system. You'll see it looks very similar as before. As soon as you go into a drainage system, the map is going to zoom into that drainage system. You should see the same kind of tabs across the top. You can still generate a drainage system report or dump the information to Excel. But what is new is, like I said, we got rid of the separate tabs for repairs, violations, conditions, and BMPs, and we put it all into one tab. And the only reason we did that is because we were running out of real estate for smaller screen sizes or browsers, and it was starting to kind of go off the edge. So we just put these four within one tab. So now if I expand this repair tab or pane within it, it's exactly the same as what you had before in the old repair tab. So we didn't change any of that. It's all the same on how to get to a repair, export the repairs for a system, things like that. The other thing we did is under like the description tab, we just put some summary information up top, just kind of the quick information you might want to see if you jump into a system. But then all the other things are the same below. Like I said, the couple new things we did add here was under the notes section, we separated out notes for internal notes versus public notes. And the thought here is that there might be things you want to note in a system that just internal staff should be aware of about the system. But then there might be some notes you want to share with the public. So our thought was eventually this field will be used to display on the public portal when we redesign the public portal in another enhancement phase. So you could basically type whatever notes you want to appear about this system and have it available to the public. The other thing someone wanted to do is just have a quick checkbox to flag if for some reason this system needs some addressing or there's issues with it. So we just added a quick checkbox here. If you check this, you get this red text here. So right away when you go to the description tab, you can see that there's an issue or notes exists about there to take a look at. This also shows up in the big table on the dashboard of all systems, so you can quickly sort to see what systems you might need to do some work on or address in DrainageDB moving forward. The other thing we did was, like I said, if the legal type field here is set to judicial or joint, then you will get an additional pane within the description tab called joint and judicial. And all this does is we added basically 3 new kind of inputs for judicial joint ditches. The first one is someone wanted to track like what was the agreed upon dollar amount that each of the counties can do repairs to without authorization from the joint board or the other county. So you can just put that value in there, and this appears in a report. Also, someone wanted to just type in the commissioners that have been appointed to the joint board for this system. So with just a text field, you can type that in. And then also wanted to be able to kind of keep track with more detail the percentage of share between each of the counties for a joint system. And you could have as many listed here as you want. You know, it's probably rare to ever have more than 3, but you could have 4 or 5 if there was a situation like that out there. And it's pretty simple. You just put in the benefit amount for that part of the county on that system, the percent share, any notes you want, and click save. So once again, it's just adding to the concept of a one-stop shop to track even more information about a drainage system inside of DrainageDB. And if others have ideas to add to this joint or judicial information section, we can certainly consider adding more fields as well. But this is kind of a starting point just based on some feedback we had got. Like I said, probably the largest enhancement we made is on this new financial tab. So we now allow a lot more tracking of the financial part of a drainage system. And I'll just kind of quickly run through this. So we had this before, but we broke out annual assessments versus expenditures separately. And actually to see this, I'm going to jump to another system that actually have some, I think, some data in here. So here's an example where, you know, I put in a bunch of years of assessments, and really what people were after is I want to get a sense of my average annual assessment and expenditures for each system so I can plan, you know, for the next year's assessments and start to do that planning. So it lets you enter in by year the assessment amount when it was approved, and then essentially you can attach a file as well. So, you know, if you have like an annual assessment roll or something like that, or a tabular lien you use for that year on the system, you could attach it right to that year as well. Average or annual expenditures, kind of the same way. You can input all your expenditures for a year, and and it will give you then calculate the average annual expenditures. Account register, this gives you the ability to enter in every single transaction financially you made on the system, whether it's a withdraw, deposit, collection, journal entry. You can enter in as many of these as you want, and then we'll sum and calculate a balance for you if you're using that. Right now, we started with just some generic codes, or actually these are what I guess the auditors typically use in their registries, but we could expand that or even make that configurable. We added some initial categories, whether it's payroll or maintenance or mileage or things like that, we could also add to that. But then we just give you the ability to type in some text with the transaction and the description if you want. So that's new. I'm not sure how many will plan to use this, but if you really want to get into knowing like every single transaction financially that's made on the system, this would be where you could do that. I think all this financial information stays the same. It's actually what we had before. And then the other new thing is being able to track the transfer of funds into or out of this system. So, I know this is becoming a bigger issue where there's deficient funds in a system and you might have to borrow from another system or even from the general fund. So this allows you to basically enter in all those transfers, whether you're transferring money into the drainage system account or out of the drainage system account, and keep track of that when it was authorized, when you plan to make a final payment back, and so forth. So once again, Brown County helped us kind of come up with this concept, and I'm guessing as more people use it, they'll have ideas on how to make this better or add to it in the future. So pretty excited. We're hoping that adds a lot more value to, if you want to really track the financial information in here, and get a better handle on, what these balances are and how money's being spent on each system.
Brian, John had a question about how you would record a 20-year assessment on a system.
So we're not going to track, well, so you probably would enter in each year potentially, but maybe that's also where we gotta add some fields here that maybe, we enter in the number of years it covers or something like that. So we can add that to the average and it just uses it across 20 years. I guess right now this is purely just like, what is the amount that was assessed for that year, out to each of the systems. But that's probably needs some more discussion, and kind of, John, I'd love to hear if you have any ideas on how to add to this. So don't have a great answer for that right now, I guess.
So it looks like for right now, you would probably have to just enter each one of the 20 years in there individually, but potentially we could add maybe a functionality that would somehow spread it out.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm going to jump back here and keep going through kind of some of the other updates we made. So one of the things I wanted to start introducing was the concept of adding configurability into DrainageDB through some admin tabs or admin section. And so we started this for a couple drop downs. I can see that growing, like I said, especially like in that register, account register, maybe you don't like the terminology we use for those codes or categories. Maybe it would make sense to make those configurable by account. So we started to introduce that idea, and I want to kind of just make sure you're aware of that and that we could continue to grow that. If there's something in DrainageDB like, a dropdown has some things in it that you just don't like the terminology we used, potentially we could make that configurable so you could configure that dropdown to have whatever values you want in it. We also added another batch updating from spreadsheets. So one of the things with the annual assessments and expenditures, it's maybe kind of tedious to go through each system if you have 100 systems and add in the annual expenditures or assessments. So if you put all that in a spreadsheet, you could import it and it would go through and update all the systems all at once, just like we have for batch updating the account balances as well. Number 9 and 10 go a little bit hand in hand. So the other big integration point we did with ArcGIS Online is for the mobile side. So we now have automated complete syncing between ArcGIS Online and the DrainageDB database for repairs, violations, conditions, and BMPs. So if I enter a repair into DrainageDB, within about 30 seconds, that repair information will get synced over to ArcGIS Online. And vice versa, if I'm out in the field and I have my collector app open and I enter a new repair, or I collect a new repair or condition from collector in the field, as soon as that is synced from collector back into ArcGIS Online, in about a minute, that repair will be synced back to the DrainageDB database automatically for you, including any photos you've taken in the field. So we think that's going to be a really handy kind of workflow, because there's a lot of value of having it all back in DrainageDB. Obviously, if you want to make repair reports, do summaries on it, things like that.
Oh, I haven't gotten a chance to read that yet.
So, let me see someone here. I'll mute. All right. So then the other big thing is, before we had our own mobile app, it was becoming a little expensive and hard to maintain. The technology was just moving so fast, and we kind of saw, most of the DrainageDB users we have an Esri license, and we're starting to use Collector Survey 123 anyway for other things. So it just made sense to leverage an integration with Esri's Collector and Survey 123 apps. So you would use Collector if you want to collect a repair, violation, condition, or BMP. And then you would use Survey 123 if you want to do an inspection on an existing repair or violation. And the big difference between the two is Collector is very map centric. You're mapping locations and filling out attributes about that feature you mapped, where Survey 123 is more form based. It's not as geared towards collecting a location. So that's kind of how we're doing it. And I will note here in the announcement, I put we were going to use field maps. We had to backtrack a little bit because we ran into 2 bugs that were complete roadblocks for us using it and the way we want to do the integration. And Esri is aware of these bugs. We worked with them. So before we're going to be able to jump to field maps, we need to see those bugs resolved in field maps to be able to use it. But once it is ready, it should be a pretty seamless switchover between collector and field maps. And I will say, field maps is very new, and Esri does not have all the same functionality they had in collector back in field maps yet, but they're also not putting any new enhancements in collector. So field maps is going to be the future app that Esri is going to promote, and they're already still starting to promote it. But there are some bugs we ran into, and we're keeping kind of up to speed on those. And when they get fixed, then we'll reconsider jumping over to field maps. But in reality, in the future, you're going to be able to use either or, because they both use a web map as the base of the map. So, and I'm going to show some of this just to give you an idea kind of what this workflow is going to look like in the mobile apps. So let me jump back over here to DrainageDB. So first of all, just to kind of give you a sense, I'm going to go back to ArcGIS Online, and I'm going to go to my groups again here. Got someone else join here. All right. So once again, we're going to help you publish the information we're going to need in ArcGIS Online to make this all work. But if you're all familiar with ArcGIS Online, most things work off what's called a feature service. So what we do is we sync all these repairs and violations and inspections back and forth between feature services that will help you publish in DrainageDB. And we'll do a deeper dive on this. I don't want to overwhelm anyone that won't be involved in this part of it, but it's fairly straightforward. So those feature services will appear in your group in ArcGIS Online. And then the other thing we'll do is we'll help you set up a web map that we'll use with Collector. So in this particular web map, I'll open it up here. We've added in all those feature services that we're going to want to be able to edit in Collector. So let it keep adding in here. So we're going to have, layers that are repair points, repair lines, violation points, violation lines. And just one note, we can't combine them together because Esri does not support putting different geometry types in the same feature layer. Also don't support multi-point features yet, even though we can do that in DrainageDB. So a couple of still limitations there. I don't know if that'll ever change with an Esri feature service. But then I can also add in any other reference layers I want, or actually any other feature services I might be using in Collector anyway. So, we just chatted with Faribault County yesterday. We know they were using Collector to collect structures, culverts, crossings, side inlets, tile outlets, things like that. They also had another layer that they were collecting crop damages in. So there's nothing preventing you from adding additional feature services that you want editable in this web map, and to have one web map or one collector map that's going to get all your data in it that you want to be able to collect. It's just for those structures layers and those crop layers. We're not going to sync those back to DrainageDB, although you could add them back into DrainageDB as a reference layer. So really flexible on what you can do now to keep all your field stuff into one app and collecting everything from one app. So I'm going to just quickly demonstrate two workflows. So the first workflow is I'm just going to jump into a drainage system here and just create a new repair real quickly. I'm going to go to County Ditch 74 here in Faribault County. Once again, thanks to Faribault County, they're letting us continue to use them as kind of the demo data. What I'm going to do here is just zoom in, and I'm just going to go under activities, repairs, and I'm going to create a new repair. So once again, real quickly, I'm not going to record much information here. I'm just going to map it as a point. Maybe I'm replacing a tile or something like that, and save that point. Have it update the landowner from the point, and just go to the description and say this is my demo test, and just going to say this is a tile repair, and going to save that, and that's all I'm going to put in this repair. So this automatically got done in DrainageDB. It got repair number 21058. So now what I'm going to do is actually going to go and show you my iPhone here, and I'm going to open up the Collector app. So as soon as I open up my Collector app, some of you might be familiar with this, I'm going to see my DrainageDB group. So I'm going to go into my DrainageDB group, and then I see my DrainageDB field map that I'm going to open to collect data. So I'm going to go ahead and open that. Most of you probably see that you would have your GPS on. I turn mine off because otherwise it's going to want to always zoom me back up around my office in Maple Grove here. But otherwise, by default, it would zoom you to your location when you're out in the field. But you can see in here, this is the same map that I showed in ArcGIS Online. As I zoomed in, more layers would appear. I can identify layers. I could toggle all my layers on and off. Maybe I don't want to see the ditch shed lines or the township lines. Quickly can toggle all that off. You can add in bookmarks. So in this case, I've added a couple bookmarks to quickly zoom to an area. So I'm going to zoom to that County Ditch 74, get me right there. And now what I want to do is I'm going to do an inspection on this new repair. So if you remember, this was the new repair, this 21058 that I did in DrainageDB. In about 30 seconds, while we were talking, it automatically synced that information over into ArcGIS Online. So I have it available in Collector now. So I'm just going to click on that particular repair. And now you can see that I have all the information I entered into DrainageDB was synced over. But the real cool thing is I want to do a new inspection on this particular repair. So what I can do is start a new inspection by clicking that link in collector. I wasn't supposed to do that. Make sure I'm logged in. Okay. What it does then is it launches the repair form automatically from collector right into survey 123. So you can see that I transferred over my repair number, the system it's on, the problem of the repair, and then I'm going to fill out the rest of the information. So I'm going to put in some notes here. You know, one of the kind of cool things is I don't actually have to type. I'm going to take a picture of the tile outlet. And then I can put in a caption if I want for my photo. I'm just going to put in demo here. And then I can go ahead and use my phone to collect some photos. I'm just going to collect one in this case. So you can collect as many as you want. And then I'm going to go ahead and submit this inspection. So right now this is sending all of it back to ArcGIS Online. Once ArcGIS Online receives it, we have what's called a webhook set up. So basically the webhook, as soon as that record is saved in ArcGIS Online, it calls back to our DrainageDB database and says, I have a new record. So what we do is we say, okay, we want that record, and we pull it from ArcGIS Online right back in the DrainageDB database. And this takes anywhere from 30 seconds to minutes, depending on how busy the servers are and network traffic and stuff like that. While we're waiting for that to be synced, I'm going to actually go back into collector, and maybe while I was out here, I saw, oh boy, this bank looks pretty bad on this ditch here. So I'm actually going to collect a new repair as well. So to collect a new repair, I would click the little plus button in collector, and I can decide, am I going to collect this repair as a line or as a point? In this case, I'm going to go ahead and collect it as a line, put it in review, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit further here. One of the kind of handy things is you can actually turn on snapping if you want while you're collecting it. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a couple points here to get my line in there for kind of a bank sloughing area. And then I would give it the drainage system name. So in this case, I know I'm on CD74. And we control this drop down so you can't actually mistype the system name, because that's very important to know what repair to associate this with, or what system to associate this repair with. And I'm just going to put in, a quick problem here. Some of the fields that we have before that will automatically sync for you, we will automatically look up the landowner, the township section range it's in, and some of that other information. But I'm just going to do this, and then I'm going to actually just attach that photo again. And I'm just going to put actually a picture of a gator in here. And so I've attached that photo, and I'm going to just go ahead and submit this point back to Drainage, or back to ArcGIS Online as well. So now I've just collected a new repair, and I've done an inspection on the existing repair, all from DrainageDB. So I'm going to go ahead and hide my phone now, and I'm going to go back to DrainageDB now, and let's gonna have to jump out of this view to see the repairs here. I'm just gonna go back to CD74, and let's check to see if that brand new repair is in there yet. So the brand new one hasn't been synced over yet, but I'm gonna go into, and actually I'm just gonna make sure, refresh that page. Let's go back to CD74 system. So actually it looks like it's there now. So I'm going to go into activities. Now I can see that brand new inspection I just created from collectors there. But first of all, I'm going to go to the one I did an inspection on from collector in survey 123. So just like before, I would go to my inspection tab and I'll see that inspection I just did from survey 123 has already been synced back, you know, including the photo caption and the actual photo here that I would have taken from my survey 123 app. Come on, the photo open here. It's on my other screen. So there's the one photo. And then I also should be able to see my other repair if I go back there as well. On the new repair, and I can see that you know, there's that line I created from collector for that repair. And then also here's the information I entered in. You know, it automatically looked up the township, commissioner district, all the stuff before the parcel number. You know, when that record is synced back, we use the location to then look that up based on the feature services. And then I would see that initial photo that I collected in this repair as well, or in this as a new inspection for this repair. So you can see, you know, the workflow would work very similarly, whether I'm doing a violation, a condition, or a BMP. So this is the new field experience and workflow. You know, I could still go back there to create that repair report for that thing or that inspection report if I wanted to. But this should allow for a nice seamless integration where, you know, as soon as you collect in the field and you submit it, as long as you got a connection and it's synced to ArcGIS Online, we'll pull that information, and vice versa. We'll push the information from DrainageDB to ArcGIS Online as well to keep everything in sync. It will support deleting a repair or violation from the collector app or updating the information for a repair as well. One thing as a safeguard we've done underneath the admin is when you delete something from ArcGIS Online or from the collector app, we don't actually delete it. We put it into this area as kind of a holding pattern, just in case you accidentally deleted it from collector. And you would actually then have to come back in here and delete it permanently, which would clear it out of ArcGIS Online and DrainageDB. So we did put that safeguard in there. I will have to see what everyone thinks of that. Maybe some people don't care and they just want it deleted. So maybe we have to put an account setting that says, don't do this, just automatically delete it no matter what. But for now, that's kind of the way it's working for those deleted items. I'm going to jump back to the presentation here. So what are our next steps? You know, we're continuing to do some testing. We have Faribault County set up on production, or not on production, as a test to help us test it. I want to get a couple more set up. But what I'm going to be doing after this is reaching out to each of you to set up a time to kind of discuss this migration. There should be very minimal effort on your end. The most effort will be just setting up the integration with ArcGIS Online. But otherwise, you know, all the data will automatically get transferred over, and the downtime should be less than a day when we make the switch over for your account. We also don't have to do this all at once. We're going to do this account by account when you're comfortable with it and when we have a time scheduled with you to do the switch over. One of my planned things is I want to do some future training webinars like this on very specific features of DrainageDB, and one will probably definitely be the Fieldwork mobile app for inspectors. I can see doing another one on the tracking legal proceedings and historic documents. I think that's a little bit of an underused area of DrainageDB. And then also kind of doing a deeper dive in the financial tracking, you know, maybe for auditors or people that are responsible for kind of more of that financial tracking. And you know, if you have very specific things you want training on, definitely, you know, we can add those to the list for the future as well. Also, you know, I have some ideas for future enhancements, but as I'm doing these one-on-one sessions with you, I want to collect your ideas as well. I know a lot of, or not a lot, but some counties and watershed districts are starting the collection or have a collection of the structures layer. And when I say structures, I mean like culverts, you know, crossings, you know, side inlets, things like that that are out on the landscape. I want to completely redesign the public portal. I also think we can get a lot more use out of that, and allowing you as each county to tailor that to what you want on the public portal. I want to build in a kind of an enhancement to the annual inspections where I've heard some of you say that, you know, I don't just go out and randomly do inspections. I have usually known areas on a ditch system where I'm doing the same inspection, you know, on this culvert or this section of the ditch over and over. And I just want to pre-map all those locations. And then I want to go out and just do an inspection on that same location every year. So I want to build in that concept as well. I think that could be very valuable. So that's the webinar. Happy to jump in now and take some questions. I'll stop sharing here. I'm glad the mobile demo went better than my one on Tuesday, so that's positive. But if you do have any questions, I'm happy to take them now. You can either unmute yourself or you can put the question in the chat window.
Brian, this is Ryan with Blue Earth County.
Okay. Yep.
Quick question. So, forgive my ignorance here. So, with this one new app, can I delete my Survey 123, my field maps, my collector app? I don't need those other apps you're saying? I can do everything in this one?
No, so that is that app. So we're using the Esri collector app and the Esri Survey 123 app. So that is what you will have to have installed. What you'll open is a web map that we've set up with the right feature layers in it to do the collection and editing.
Okay, so I still need the app.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and the whole reason is, you know, Esri is putting a ton of investment into their mobile apps. Most of you already have the licensing you need or the subscription you need. So why not just use that instead of trying to maintain and build our own, is the thought.
Right. Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah, any other questions? Yes, hearing none and seeing none. I appreciate you taking a little time here. Like I said, I have recorded this, so I will get the link back out to everyone. So if you want to rewatch it, you can, or if you need to share it with others, you can as well. So I guess there's one more question. John asked, what is the timeline for conversion? So once again, next week, I'm going to reach out to you and I want to schedule a time with you to talk about that. It's really up to you to schedule a time for that conversion. So we're ready to go in our standpoint. So we could probably schedule you in as soon as 2 weeks out. But some of you might want to take a little more time to become comfortable with the mobile app too. I don't know. So, you know, in our standpoint, we're ready. We think it's ready for production, the new version. So it's just a matter of scheduling a time with you to do that conversion and get the ArcGIS Online account stuff set up. And I know it's kind of a fast webinar, especially on the mobile side, lots of new stuff. But like I said, I plan to do a quick follow-up, deeper dive into just the mobile side to do more training on that as we roll things out to you. See another question here, where is the mobile app located? So the mobile app is on either the iOS or the Apple App Store or on the Android Play Store or Google Play Store. So it's an app that's published by Esri. Esri owns the app, it's their app. But we will point you to that when we get you set up and make sure you have all that set up on your devices as well. Another question for Ryan. So do we email you or whom to start the process? So I have the list that I'm going to reach out to each county. I might try to get some of those emails out this afternoon, but I'm going to work through the list and I'll reach out to each of you because I want to make sure I know who's going to be kind of I'll call it the gatekeeper of the ArcGIS Online integration for each of the clients we have here. Thanks, Marissa, for the note back. Yeah, we're excited about this too. We think it's going to be a great experience. So any other questions? I can happy to hang on if we need to. If not, let's again appreciate your time, and I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and end the webinar. And everyone have a good day. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.